This is Lesson 8, the Wampanoag. The Pilgrims anchored in a harbor off the coast of what we now call Massachusetts. According to legend, when they were looking for a good spot to land, they saw a huge rock sticking out of the water near the shore. One of the Pilgrims exclaimed, "That rock is dry and level, and it looks like the perfect place to go ashore without slipping." And so one by one, the Pilgrims climbed out onto the rock. They named it Plymouth Rock. If you visit Massachusetts today, you can still see Plymouth Rock, or at least a rock that could have been Plymouth Rock. No one really knows. What we do know is that when the Pilgrims first landed in America, they slept aboard the Mayflower until they could decide on the best place to start their colony. After exploring for days, they found an acceptable site. Once they were all ashore, the first thing they did was get down on their knees. "Let us raise a prayer to thank God for arriving safely to our new home," they said. Of course, it was not really a home yet. Much difficult work lay ahead. They gathered supplies from the Mayflower, and braving the cold November winds, they set about clearing the land. They rushed to build log homes before the snows of winter came, and they decided upon a new name for their settlement. They named it Plymouth Colony. One day, as the Pilgrims were working in their new colony, two strangers stepped out from the forest. They stopped what they were doing and stared, fascinated by what they saw. The men did not look like them at all, and at first the Pilgrims were alarmed by the appearance of them. The settlers stood quietly as the men came closer and closer. They must be Native Americans, they thought to themselves. Were they friends or enemies? They weren't too sure. Then one of the strangers smiled. Suddenly the sense of danger was gone. One of the men introduced himself as Samoset and told the colonists that he was a member of the Wampanoag tribe of Native Americans. A few days later, Samoset reappeared with a man who would turn out to be the Pilgrims' greatest friend. "I am Squanto," he told the Pilgrims. "I am of the Wampanoag people, and I have come to help you." He held out his hand in friendship to them, and one by one the colonists stepped forward to shake it. Squanto, or Squanto as he was called, was able to talk to the Pilgrims because he spoke English. When he was younger, he was forced by Spanish explorers to go to Spain with them. He was able to get free and travel to England, where he learned to speak English. He was then able to get back to his home country. The Pilgrims did not know at this point, but life was about to get much easier. Their lives would get easier in part because Squanto was not the only Wampanoag who would help them along the way. The Wampanoag chief became a great and important friend to the colonists. The chief's name was Massasoit. Massasoit gave the colonists his word that the Wampanoag tribe would gladly share their land as long as the colonists took care of it. "We will teach you how to live in harmony with nature," he told them. Being on friendly terms with the Wampanoag was very important to the Pilgrims' survival.